The Room That Devours. Jake had been driving for hours, and the rain made the highway impossible to navigate. He decided to pull into the nearest motel, a forgotten place just off the road, worn down and barely standing. The neon sign flickered vacancy, and the old woman at the front desk handed him a rusty key marked with the number 8. Room 8 was small, damp, and reeked of mildew. He dropped his bag on the floor and collapsed onto the bed. Exhaustion hit him hard, but as he started to drift off, a noise jolted him awake, like the dragging of something heavy on the floor. His eyes shot toward the bathroom door. It was cracked open just enough to see the dim light inside, though Jake distinctly remembered leaving it off. Annoyed, he got up and went to investigate. He pushed the door open, but there was nothing, just a stained old tub and a flickering light bulb. He chalked it up to fatigue and returned to bed. Moments later, the sound came again. This time it was louder, more insistent. The floorboards beneath him creaked, but Jake hadn't moved. He stood up, now fully alert, and scanned the room. Nothing seemed out of place until he noticed the wardrobe. The old oak thing stood in the corner, heavy with age. He couldn't remember seeing it when he first entered, but that couldn't be right. With his heart racing, Jake hesitated for a moment, then slowly approached the wardrobe. As he pulled open the door, a cold gust of air hit his face. Inside, there were clothes, tattered, dusty outfits that looked like they hadn't been touched in years. But what caught his attention was the smell. It was rancid, like rotting meat. Jake took a step back, but something pulled his eyes downward. A large, dark stain spread across the wooden floor of the wardrobe, almost like it was bleeding. His mind screamed at him to leave, but curiosity, or maybe fear, held him in place. He crouched down, staring at the stain. It looked fresh, wet, and pulsing. And then the wardrobe began to groan. The door behind him slammed shut, and the lights flickered. Jake jumped, his breath coming in ragged gasps. As he stood frozen in place, the groaning turned into whispers, low and guttural, coming from within the wardrobe. They called his name. Panic surged through him, and he reached for the door, desperate to escape. But the handle wouldn't budge. The room had locked itself. Jake's chest tightened, his breath shallow. The whispers grew louder, surrounding him, pressing into his ears from every direction. Then the wardrobe door slowly began to close on its own. Jake grabbed it, fighting against the force, but it was too strong. He stumbled backward, tripping over the edge of the bed, and fell hard onto the floor. As he scrambled to his feet, he saw someone emerge from the wardrobe. A shadow, long and twisted, stepped into the room. Its limbs were too long, its head tilted unnaturally, and its hollow eyes locked onto him. Jake bolted for the window, but it wouldn't open. He pounded on the glass, screaming for help, but no one could hear him. The shadow crept closer, its whispers now a deafening roar in his head. The walls began to close in, the room growing smaller, suffocating him. Every inch of the space was alive with malevolent energy, feeding on his fear. Just as the shadow reached him, Jake screamed one last time, and everything went silent. The next morning, the old woman at the front desk didn't seem surprised when the cleaning staff found room 8 empty. The door was still locked from the inside, the bed untouched, and the wardrobe slightly ajar. "Another one," she muttered to herself, marking down the date. Room 8 was always hungry for more,